Hey, everybody. Linda Bean, Outreach Coordinator from the Kelly Ann Dolan Memorial Fund. Joining you today on what feels like our 1,000th snow adventure in snowy Fort Washington, Pennsylvania. But it can't dim the light of what we are going to talk about today. Thrilled to welcome as our guest today, Matthew Walzer. How you doing, Matthew?
I'm great, Linda. How are you? Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I'm great. I am so overjoyed, really, to have you. There's been a lot going on in your life the last several months, but I want to kind of, backtrack. We're going to be talking with Matthew about, imagine this for a second. Matthew really flashback 10 years ago at age 16 is the inspiration behind deciding to write to Nike about creating a shoe that anyone could wear, anyone that's living with a disability could wear. So take me back, Matthew, take me back to age 16. What inspired you to reach out to Nike?
Yeah, so I think it'd be best to take everybody back to 1995. That's when the year I was born. I was born 2 months premature. Um, my mom had me at 29 weeks and completely normal pregnancy, and I weighed 2 pounds, 14 ounces at birth. And honestly, I spent 3.5 months in the NICU, and for quite a while in the NICU. They weren't sure if I was going to make it. I had to get to a certain point to weigh enough where my parents could safely hold me. So, I mean, imagine not being able to hold your child. I was their firstborn, so you're their firstborn child until I weighed enough. And as I got out of the NICU and into my toddler years, I used a walker when I was really young in preschool, and so my CP affects my walking, my balance, and my fine motor skills. And so I progressed from a walker to canes by middle school, high school, and then through college I used a scooter, mobility scooter. But as far as fine motor, there were a lot of things that I struggled with. Most of them I overcame, like not being able to hold a piece of paper down on my desk at school to write. So they had to put this like sticky film on my desk to help keep the paper in place. I had to use squeeze scissors. But I overcame a lot of that stuff eventually as I got older and I got stronger. But the one thing that I never overcome really is being able to tie my shoes. And so it's something that, when you're young, you take for granted. Most of us, we learn how to tie our shoes by, early elementary school years. And I have a younger brother who is in middle school, and even he struggles with shoe tying still. But so it's something that I guess when you're a kid, you take for granted. But as I was in high school and I'm looking to go away to college, and I wanted literally to go away to school and live on my own and be as independent as I could, shoelaces were the anchor that was weighing me down, if you will. And I knew that I wasn't the only one out there. I couldn't be the only one out there that faced this challenge. And so I wrote this letter to Nike, asking for shoes with a closure system that can be used by, everybody. And so because I wanted to go away to school and live on my own, I see you guys have the letter up on the screen. My dream is to go away to the college of my choice without having to worry about someone coming to put on my shoes every day. And, Nike now has certainly, answered that call. And so it's been incredible. It was incredible to collaborate with them from 12 to 15 on the original Fly shoe. And now, to see what they're doing with this Go shoe, which I didn't have a hand in the design with at all, but it's just incredible to see them, expanding on it.
Yeah, but it's amazing. I mean, the genesis behind this is really because at age 16, and I love that you chose to normalize this.
Yes,
We can take the dis out of disability, like I always like to say. I have a 26-year-old son who really struggled without any limitations in learning how to tie his shoes. So this is a universal product that could appeal to someone who's living with a disability or someone that really just struggles with, that ability in being able to tie a shoe. Um,
absolutely.
I would love to hear a little bit behind the scenes on your collaboration in the design process. I know there's the new shoe that's coming out just in a few weeks. When we'll get to that, but how much of a role did you kind of have in terms of input?
Well, so after I wrote my letter, the letter went viral across social media. And Nike got wind of it within a few days, and they contacted me and said that, Matt, we love your letter and your call to action and your advocacy, and we want to help. And so from there, they put me with Toby Hatfield, who's a fantastic, fantastic designer, brilliant mind, and they really wanted to know what my needs were. And so aside from the lack of dexterity in my hands, I have full dexterity in my left, and in my right, I'm weaker. And aside from that, I have a lack of dorsal flexion and plantar flexion in my feet. So it's harder for me to get my foot down into a shoe to make that motion.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And so they presented me with a rear entry design prototype. And this was after, let me backtrack for a second. They sent me, yeah, there's the picture up there. And they sent me, when I was 17, a pair of modified Hyperdunk basketball shoes that had a zipper up the middle with my name on it and a Velcro strap. And for the first time in my life at 17, I put my own shoes on independently. And I was saying this earlier, most of us, we put our shoes on at a really young age. And so, the first time that we do that, from a young age, I don't have that. That wasn't my experience, but most people, I'm assuming, take that, you take that for granted as you get older. But for me, it's still so fresh in my mind. And it's something that, I wasn't sure at that moment what happened at 17, at 30, or at 50. But again, it just goes back to advocating. And so back to the collaboration process. So Nike would send me rear entry prototypes, and I would give feedback on things like how the zippers can be improved as far as getting in and out of to make getting in and out of the shoe easier and closing it, making the straps longer for more support, cushioning, things like that. And then, obviously to see the final product in 15, and it was incredible.
That's amazing. And I was able to do a little bit of research and some of the other, you've done quite a bit of media. I really loved reading your interview that you did with NPR. And I'm wondering if you could kind of hone in on, you just mentioned support. Now we're talking about a shoe that is zipperless, laceless, but talk about what support means to a person that's living with a disability that maybe affects their balance and ability to walk.
Well, yeah, I mean, you need a shoe that's supportive enough to assist with walking. Most people that don't have a disability kind of, I guess, can take the support factor for granted. But, having a stable shoe and a supportive shoe is really important.
Yeah. So that was, you were able really to kind of lead the designers in that was kind of a real key component in the design of that process. I can imagine that you just have inspired countless people across this nation, from the smallest of our citizens to, the oldest. Can you tell me about, I think you had a little girl that wrote you some years back a thank you letter, what that meant to you?
I love seeing that picture. Yeah, this was after I wrote my letter to Nike, and it started to go viral. And this mother, and actually, I still do keep in touch with them until this day. Her daughter, Siona, her name was 2 years old at the time, and in her letter, her thank you note that she wrote, it basically said that my daughter has CP as well, and shoes are such a struggle for her, even for us as parents now, and it's something that we worry about going in, over the course of her life. And so to know how much my letter has made an impact on people with disabilities, on parents of kids with special needs, siblings, caregivers, that struck a chord with me, and it really resonated with me, and was kind of the moment where I knew that writing the letter and speaking out was that I made the right decision.
Yeah, I mean, I think that drive behind your inner voice in saying, I'm going to try and be the champion for the voiceless here, and clearly through the feedback that you've gotten, and just hearing from that mom and daughter and what a difference you made in their lives must be just so rewarding for you.
So rewarding, and not just their lives, but so many others. Students that go to college, that I remember when I started school after going back for my sophomore year of college after FlyEase launched. I got a tweet from somebody, and they said that because of FlyEase, they're able to go away to school and live on their own. And that really struck a chord with me, because I know that same feeling, and that worry that comes with, how am I going to, get there when I have to worry about so many different things, including something as trivial as tying my shoes, or having someone help me put my shoes on in the morning.
Yeah, but it's not trivial. I mean, you had a dream, and that goal was to go to college, and you
Right.
knew that you needed
it's trivial in the sense that it's such a common thing, and I'm glad that Nike has certainly answered that call in expanding FlyEase, and really taking something that should have been simple and accessible, and making it simple and accessible.
Absolutely. That level of independence for all.
Yeah.
It was just brilliant, and your courage and your dream. I know you keep saying, I didn't have a hand in the current design of the new FlyEase shoe that's coming out in March, but the whole reason it exists is because of your, dream and your bravery to say, what do I have to lose? I'm going to write Nike and tell them, everybody deserves an accessible shoe to be independent. And, that is because of you. I got to ask, I'm a little starstruck. I want to know, I know you've had some opportunity to meet some celebrities. You had some opportunity to meet LeBron James. And, what was that like for you?
Well, actually, I want to also touch on what it was like to meet Toby Hatfield for the first time in person. So going back to the collaboration aspect, everything was done over like email and Skype, because Nike's in Oregon, I'm in Florida. And so I actually I was on vacation with my family, and we were in this restaurant, and there was no cell phone service in the restaurant. And when when we left, I noticed I had a missed call from Nike, and they said, we want to. I called them. They left me a voicemail, and they said, we want to chat on the phone. And so I gave them a call back. And actually, I was right before I got the missed call. I was talking with my family about maybe getting some prototypes in different colors. And so it was kind of ironic that I got the call. And so I called them back, and they said, we've never met in person, and we want you and your family to come out to Los Angeles. So, you can meet Toby in person and talk about the shoes and everything. So of course it's a no-brainer. I was dying to meet the man that, had changed my life. Indescribably. And because of Toby and Nike, I got to, my first night on my own was my freshman year college orientation. It was the first night in my life that I'd spent on my own because I had shoes that I was able to put on the next day. And so when we get out to California and meeting him in person for the first time, how much he had changed my life. And that's when also they told me that, we're launching the shoes and we're calling them Flyes. And those are, the pictures that you see there on the screen. And then the bonus surprise of that day was getting to meet LeBron. The first Flyes shoe, the Zoom Soldier 8 Flyes, is a LeBron model. And so to know that, he was stood behind the launch and what these shoes mean for so many people. Obviously LeBron is a fantastic humanitarian. And I really think that, involving him in this from the beginning just speaks to his fantastic humanitarian efforts.
That's incredible. And you think about, for someone like LeBron or Toby that you referenced, when we're talking about accessibility, it can cross over, any type of population with someone that doesn't have the same opportunity. And I hope you realize it wasn't just really with, a person living with a disability. You were spreading a broader message of accessibility. We should all have the same opportunities.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
it's just.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
It really it speaks to something that I've been thinking about a lot lately, and that's where the world can go from here, and follow in the footsteps of a Nike, of a Tommy Hilfiger, who's had adaptive clothing out now for about 3-4 years. Those are some of the mainstream brands that I think of that have really have been leading in the universal design race. But the world needs to embrace universal design, not just in clothing or fashion or shoes, but really in all aspects of life. Like we, as people with disabilities, we've had to adapt to what the world gives us for so long. But I think, and especially in the day and age and the times that we're living in now, it's really time for the world, other large corporations, other industries, business sectors, government, to listen to people with disabilities, truly listen and work with us and hear what our needs are, so that everyone can feel included in all aspects of life.
You are speaking the gospel of inclusion and taking the stereotypes and the stigma away from, and just creating a platform where you're able to leverage your unique talents and gifts despite any limitations that may have come, your way. I, you have such sage advice. I want to, that we serve families, a wide range, families that are living with a serious illness or a chronic illness, or living with disability or experienced a sudden injury.
Yes.
On your toughest days, tell me, what do you draw from? How do you power through?
I think it's just knowing where I had to start out. I started out almost not being here, and I've had to overcome so much. And before I even knew how to fight, I fought, and my parents, fought to give me the best quality of life possible. And I don't take that for granted. And just and then when I got to college, I don't know, do we have any college students out there listening right now, or any parents with a child with a disability in college? But once I got there, like, the shoes got me there, right? But then it was advocating for what I needed as far as accessibility to successfully, like, have a successful college experience, whether that was, like, through housing or transportation. And it was an eye opener in the sense of how much we've come so far in inclusion, but there's so much more that we can do. And in my experience, the school kind of said, we may not have been equipped to not handle someone with a disability, but serve them in a way that meets into each individual's needs. Because each person with a disability, obviously, we all have our own set of unique needs, and to us, even though the needs are unique, they're not they're nothing that, with some cooperation and understanding, that nothing that people can't meet in the middle on and say, okay, this is how can we help you, instead of just kind of saying, well, I'm sorry, but there's nothing else we can do. And it goes back to my point earlier of, the world kind of needs to step up to the plate and see what help they can provide to people with disabilities.
Yeah, amazing. We're talking about continuing the discussion and moving things forward. So tell me about really what's next. What are you doing in the world of advocacy, which you just spoke, so beautifully on? What's next for Matthew?
I mean, I want to continue to work with other companies across other business sectors. Transportation really comes to mind for me, and it's something that I would love to get into. People look at you look at, like, Tesla's autopilot feature, and the next big thing in cars is self-driving cars. But people don't realize how a self-driving car is not just for a driver that's lazy or doesn't want to drive on a long trip, manually the regular way, but how much of an impact that can have on a person with a disability who, is physically unable to drive, even, with the assistive technologies that are out there. I mean, personally, I'm blind in my left eye from birth. And so I don't drive at night because of some depth perception issues. But having the benefits of that technology, and I'm sure other technologies that the companies are working on, not just in cars, but what I'm saying is people and companies don't realize the true ultimate purpose of what you're designing and working on, and how that can help people with disabilities. And that's kind of the disconnect, where you don't necessarily realize what the true purpose of the product that you're designing is, and what the how getting in at the ground level, how that could help so many people.
Yes. And I know one of the vehicles that you're doing that through, I want to hear about, let's hear about your podcast, because
Yeah.
I imagine that's one of the mechanisms that you hope to continue that advocacy.
Yes. I actually just put out a new, it's a brief but meaningful episode last night. And it's just me, sharing my stories and experiences of living with living with CP for 25 years, and how my experiences changed from an adult, from an infant to a young boy to now, a grown man, and kind of the ups and downs that I've experienced. A quick example that I can think of that I know it's in one of the episodes that I did is going out to restaurants. I mean, I haven't been doing much of that lately because of COVID, but like I said, I do drive. So in a normal non-COVID world, let's say after work, I go and get a bite to eat and come in with my scooter and by myself, because I'm not afraid to go into a restaurant by myself. And people that work there, the people that are eating there, are kind of like shocked to see a disabled person go in and eat on their own and say, hi, table for one. Yes, I'll this to drink and this to eat. And it's just shocking to people. And so there's so many stigmas that the world needs to just get over, get over it,
Yeah.
normalize it.
I love it. And you really are paving that road with your scooter. And Matthew, I just have to say, you say you got where you were because of the shoe. Well,
Yeah.
the shoe wouldn't exist without you being a teenage boy and saying, um, I don't need to belong to a certain tribe. I want to be included
Yeah.
and find my place in the world. And I'm going to use my voice and for so many others, and I'm going to pave that road. So such a joy in spending some time today chatting with you. So excited to see what comes next
Thank you.
for you. So, continue on the good work. I know you're an avid swimmer, so you have better weather than we do. So,
Good. You do your homework.
yeah, I did my homework. Keep yourself moving in the pool, and what an inspiration
Thank
um,
you.
you are for
Thank you.
us. So
And
listen,
thank you for everything that you guys do, through your organization, through the Dolan Fund. I mean, when I was younger, I had a. This is the last quick story, and then we'll wrap it up if you guys want to wrap it up. But I had to fly to St. Louis for a spinal surgery, and there was an organization, and the name is slipping my mind right now, and I wish it wasn't. I'm not. I think they're still around in some capacity, but they would provide transportation for families who had medical situations that needed emergency surgeries and things of that like. And so and actually my parents were cleaning out some stuff, and they found the letter. This was like 6 weeks ago, that it saved the letter that I was approved for the transportation to go to St. Louis and get this surgery. It's called a dorsal rhizotomy, and that surgery truly changed my life, and it wouldn't have happened without help from that organization. And I'm so frustrated that it's slipping my mind. I'm sorry, but to know that organizations like the Dolan Fund still continue to help families in need, is incredible. So thank you.
Oh, thank you for kind of sharing the spotlight there for a second. We just truly believe in just being a small sliver of a beacon of light in the struggle of so many families. So glad to hear that an organization made a difference in your life. And we hope that in some small way we are viewed by the families that we serve. So keep on powering on, Matthew. I'm following you now on Instagram, so I cannot wait to see what's next for you.
Thank
And
you.
could you bring a little of that sunshine our way in Philly? I am over winter.
I'll try. I'll see what I can do.
All right. All right. Listen, have a good one. Such a
Thank
pleasure.
you. Thank you so much for having me.